Interrupt this program for a special news bulletin.
The most disrespected person in America is the black woman.
But still like dust.
Hello. Welcome to another episode of Rooted with Aisha. And thank you all so much for joining me today. If it's evening or afternoon or morning, wherever you are located, hello. Oh my goodness. So thank you all so much for joining me today on another episode. But before we begin, if you have not already, please subscribe to this channel, so that way you are locked in and you're rooted with us. And also, if you have not already liked my other videos or hit the notification bells, that way you don't miss any broadcastings. Come on, y'all. Let's get rooted. In order to get rooted, we need to get rooted with this channel. So subscribe, please. So that way you all are in it with us, so that way we can start planting our roots and really getting down to the nitty-gritty. So today I really wanted to take this time to do what I would call a 5-minute questionnaire because oftentimes when it comes to ancestry, that's always a conversation, is how do you explore your ancestry, or for individuals who have African or Caribbean lineage, how do you go about that, and questions in that field essentially, or that genre. So that's definitely something that I do want to do today. So today we're going to be discussing exploring African lineage and diasporic roots. Let's get into it. So to kick it off, we're just going to be going over some questions, having an open, candid conversation about exploring African lineage and diasporic roots, as well as with 5 questions. And I honestly think that, of course, sometimes you can't really answer something in just 5 questions. You literally need to really go more in depth with it. That's precisely why I want to have this open conversation. And also, if anyone in the comments share the same perspectives, or if you have some perspectives of your own that you would like to share regarding how you explored your roots, please share, so that we can make this an open conversation. Let's just dive in and get into it. So question number 1 would be, what do you know about your African ancestry or heritage? Have you traced your family tree or learned stories from your elders? So let me start with myself first. So for me, I'm the youngest of 4 children, raised by an amazing and beautiful, strong African Caribbean woman, my mother. I'm not saying that we did not have our hurdles. I'm not saying that we did not have our adversities, but what I always learned from my mother was faith. And even when her faith was tried and tested, she always made sure that we remain grounded to it. Not saying that we always listened. Sometimes we still don't. But what I would honestly say is that what really helped me to feel more confident in who I am as a young woman was being immersed in my ancestral culture, and also being taught about my heritage, because I came out to the United States, originally from the United States Virgin Islands, but I came out to the United States when I was like young, probably like maybe 2 or 3 or 4, but I was very young. Just know this. I wish I could give you an exact age, but I was very young, and I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything about the culture. I didn't know anything about what the US did or what they contributed to. I didn't know anything about anything. So over the years, I had to go on my own journey. I had my if only phase. If only I could be like this person, that person, that person, because I didn't fully know who I was. I didn't really embrace who I was, my quirks, what made me different, or what made me stand out from the rest. So I would honestly say, how did I know about my ancestry and heritage came from my mother, because she grew up all of her life in the Caribbean. So you had griots, you had individuals and elders who told stories, but also her mother told her stories about her family, meaning my mother's side of the family, as well as where they come from in terms of like how long they were native to the islands. But my mom also went on her own journey, because, and that's something that I will have her share on future videos and podcasts, because that's her story to tell, and I want to give her that respect. But I would honestly say that's how I know about my African ancestry and heritage, because she took us on that journey, and she also allowed us to discover it for ourselves. And there's other ancestry DNA testings companies like African Ancestry. That's how you're able to know your African tribe, as well as your matrilineal and your patrilineal lineage. And for me, my matrilineal lineage is from the Akan people of Ghana. That's what we were identified with, but also ancestral. That's in the Caribbean. A lot of our people came from Ghana, and then a lot of other African groups came from Congo and other Nigeria or other groups. So we know that for sure, because we were able to pinpoint and know for sure that that's where our roots came from. But African ancestry further supported what we already know. So that's definitely something that I would say really helped me to really become even more confident in who I am, and also really feel safe in the fact that, hey, I can walk out of my house, full-blown African attire, regalia, and not feel like, oh snap, eyes are watching me. So this is me, and this is who I am. So what's up? That's how I really would say learning about my African ancestry and my heritage helped me, is giving me that inner confidence, and that boldness that I could walk in a room and have a conversation with anyone that's in there. Yes, sir, and yes, ma'am. And question number 2, to continue this, is how connected do you feel to your African roots today? Do you practice any traditions, language, or cultural rituals? Now, for me, any traditions that we practice, I would say dates back to Caribbean customs, because when a lot with the transatlantic slave trade, a lot of our people who were, descended or sent to the Caribbeans, they carried their customs with them, their food, their spices, their herbs, their remedies, their oils, their anything to get them through. I definitely was taught that, nurtured with it, and given that front and up close glimpse as to what I can do to help myself stay healthy and to really help myself stay sustained. Because when I was younger, my mom fed me a lot of teas, a lot of porridges, or roots, or any herbs that can help me, because when I was born via C-section. So I didn't get the natural vaginal squeeze, but I do have a hereditary symptoms of asthma. So I have to be very careful, and dust or anything that may, give me those flare-ups. But I haven't had any, thank the Lord, in many years. But I'm being very careful about what I do. So learning about my roots, as well as my mom being open about the traits, diabetes on this side or asthma on this side, or what to do when you encounter this, or just these different things, really helped me to really be in the know. And that's what I would honestly say. If you're a parent watching this, if you're a grandparent watching this, an auntie, uncle, brother, sister, child, if you have any information about your health history, either if it's mental illness, either if it's an allergic reaction to something, or either if it's something that is impacting you health-wise, I pray that you'll be open and honest with the next generation with that detail and information, because that's really going to help them. If there's any history of endometriosis in your family, but you don't know this, but you're experiencing this, it's important that you know these answers for yourself, but also make sure that you are properly prepared, so that way you have the awareness and you don't feel slighted or blindsided. Because I don't know what I would have even done if I didn't know this, or at least know that, okay, this is what I have up against me. This is what I need to do. If you catch my drift. So in addition to feeling connected to my culture and my African roots, traditions, yeah, we definitely do upkeep. Languages, I don't speak Twi or I don't speak Swahili, but I am so going to be putting myself in that path to learning, especially if it's of a native African speaking individual who knows the language. If y'all can speak Twi or Swahili, hit me up. If you teach it, please let me know, how I can definitely learn from you or resources, because hey, I want to make sure that I'm able to not only live out in the West or live anywhere, but still harness my own culture and not feel that I need to assimilate to get in where I fit in. No, I want to be different. I want to be me and not like everyone else. So if you have those resources or knowledge, hit me up. Please ask rootswithaisha at gmail.com, and I'll put the email in the description box, so that way you all can, send me an email. And if you have questions or your stories, please, I would love to hear them. Cultural rituals. I would say sometimes my mom did educate me on certain baths, feminine baths that you can do for yourself, especially around that time of the month. You want to make sure that you're able to, feel the freshness that you can honestly feel, but you also want to feel, refreshed, but also something that is natural. So I would say that's something that my mom incorporated in my life. Cultural rituals, my religious belief is Christian. However, I'm not one to disrespect someone who believes differently than me. But what I do know is that you can extending kindness and being respectful and presenting yourself in a way that opens room for a conversation. You can catch more flies with honey than you can with vinegar. It's important to not wear your religion on your sleeve to the point where you are shunning people away from you that can learn from you. And most importantly speaking, when you have God in your heart, you don't have to say, oh, I'm a Christian. This is who I am. Hey, my name is Aisha, I'm a Christian. Your character will speak for itself. So I'll honestly say that my mom taught me the elements of learning by example and not just professing to be something, but acting differently. You catch it? So that's definitely something that my mom has. As you can see, my mom was a big influence on me, but also she worked as a nurse for many years, and she worked with individuals of different religious backgrounds, cultures, and who thought differently. So she became a world, life learner, but also a well-rounded individual. So I would say my cultural rituals are different more as a way of self-care, but nothing with deities or getting into that realm. That's not something that I do per se. And question number 3, what emotions or thoughts come up when you reflect on your ancestral history? Pride, curiosity, pain, empowerment. I would say, to be transparent with you, I would say pride. I would say it has made me feel that I belong somewhere and that I'm not wayward. It also made me feel that I have an inner strength that I have not tapped into yet, that it makes sense. Anything that I've ever set my mind to, it makes sense. And I wouldn't say curiosity, because I always knew, but I would say a sense of awakening that, oh, I'm learning more about it, and I'm really going to be immersing myself in my culture even more. But when you really get down to the meat and potatoes, when you get down to that goosey soup, the pain and the cost and the inhumane treatment of my ancestors and the ancestors of every indigenous individual is something to really note. And it's something that I feel that as a society we have forgotten, that we think that, oh, no, that's the past history. The past is our history. The past is the present, is the past, present, and future. It's everything is all connected. But the most important thing is that we know how we are addressing the past, but we're also giving respect to it and being grateful. Because when my mom told me about my ancestry, I was like, man, they survived. Like, my ancestors survived. And that's something that my mom tells me sometimes, is when I get into my Aisha mode, my mom was like, listen, your ancestors survived, so you could be here. So you better act right. Some, and those little reminders to kind of like check back in and not be complicit has definitely been something that has been a reminder for me. But what I would honestly say is just the thought process and not feeling that, okay, I'm, just the thought process is important, because how you view your history and how you see it will definitely, restructure your overall outlook on life. Because if you're resentful of your history, resentful of your ancestry, resentful of what made you, then sadly enough, we can be imposters out here. It creates a form of imposter syndrome where you don't know who you are. Because once you know who you are, and once you're in a room, and if there's someone that is opposed to someone like you, and it's not someone that is supportive of someone who is like you, no one can tell you anything. You are who you are. They have to accept it or not. So, but that's also for us to go on that journey, because the most important thing here is that you know who you are, and that you also go on that journey for yourself, and don't let the world tell you who you are. That's what my mom taught me, and that's what I learned along the way, because I've been in some places where I was the only raisin in the sun, but I was myself. And I stood out, not because, cocoa butter melanated, but it's because of my character, who I am. Like, I brought Aisha. I don't know what everybody else was bringing, but I was bringing me, because that's just me. I don't know how else to be, but I was not always like this. I was someone who thought, okay, maybe if I was like this person, that person, and that person, then I would be more accepted. I'd have more friends, or I would have more, I don't know what I was thinking, but I would have more of, just industry versus inferiority. Like Erickson's hierarchy of needs, like I would feel included. But as I grew up, I love my privacy. I love you feel me? Yes, indeed. Because I would honestly say this is growth, because I never used to talk like this or I never used to really feel like this. So I would honestly say that this is definitely something that I've over time had to really, learn and grow. What the hell? Yeah, but I honestly had to learn and grow and really find a sense of appreciation for myself, and also for my journey. And at one point I resented my journey. I'm like, why didn't I learn this before? Like, why? I blamed my own self for not knowing what I know now. And I think that's something that every day I have to, overcome, because the memory process, when you remember things, it's like, it's the devil. or it's like, some memories you should remember, and then some memories I'm like, Lord, cause me to forget. So I would honestly say that it's a process, y'all. It is a process, believe me. But what I would honestly say is that the emotions that I feel and thoughts that come up when I look back at my ancestry now is that of it's a mixture of feelings and emotions. You cannot deny the pain. You cannot deny the wrong that's being done. But as my professors always tell us in class, focus on the solution. Like what happened then is also still happening now. What can I do to contribute to it? So that's what we're also going to get into more on this channel, and more topics that we're going to be addressing and going over, and my passions that I want to do more in my community as well as in other minority groups communities, because we're all rooted, we're all connected. We all may not speak the same language, we may not all share the same perspectives about life, but the passions are very much still the same. And question number 4, in what ways have your diasporic experience shaped your identity? Think about how migration, culture, and community influenced you. So I would say my diasporic experience growing up in the Caribbean, as well as what I was accustomed to and seeing, and think about how the migration process happened. I would say, because we left the Caribbean because my my mother's mother passed, but also there wasn't anything left for us to get from it. And it was just a time, and it was a period that was definitely needed for that transition, but it was definitely not easy on my mother, and she will be on here herself. We're gonna have those discussions. But most importantly speaking, I would say how that shaped my experience is it gave me 2 sides, where I saw my life in the Caribbean, where I also saw what I was exposed to in terms of what was done, the customs. When you go into a bakery or a store, they say good morning to you. When I go into a store here, one person may say good morning in the room. I can't say the same thing about everybody else. You feel me? So there are those elements of cultural norms that are different, but also it's that warm embrace that you feel when you're surrounded by individuals who have the same essence. And it doesn't even have to be individuals who are Black or individuals who are of the same geographical ancestral pool. It could be because when I grew up around individuals who were Dominican, Puerto Rican, we had a Palestinian community, a Syrian community, we had individuals who were from other Caribbean islands, and they gave you the sense of service, that they're not there just to, well, some were there to cash a check, and some were just there to serve you, and then based off of the experience they earn an honest wage in living. And then we also had South Asians and Pacific Islanders and individuals who were either Chinese, Korean, or Japanese were also in St. Croix and in other parts of the Caribbean, because we're all St. Croix, which is one of the 3 islands of the Virgin Islands, is a melting pot. It has everybody there. So that's definitely something that I had to, really reconcile with myself, is that how these cultures are different. And oh my goodness, do I be like this? Do I be like that? Like, what do I do? So I learned, just be yourself, Aisha. Be yourself, know your surroundings, just be aware, but also just be careful, because my mom always taught me that as a young woman, I cannot be in certain places. I gotta know where I'm going. If I need to go with someone, I need to go with a witness. I need to go in 2s. I can't just go as 1. So it's just a lot of things that I had to learn along the way of safety, but also knowing that my communities are ever so evolving, because we've moved a few times. I used to live in Florida back in the day. That's where we first came out, from the Caribbean to Florida. And then I used to live in Georgia, I would say is a second home to me, because I lived a lot of my years in Georgia, currently living in Virginia. So it's definitely something that I've had to really, navigate, is the overall cultural dynamics, because each state, region has different diasporic groups. Not everyone is the same. Like, it could be someone that looks just like me, someone that's from another minority group, but our perspectives are different, lifestyles are different, how we cook is different, how we think is different, how we react is different. So I would say the ways that my diasporic experience has shaped me is the overall values and cultural norms of yes ma'am, yes sir, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or just keeping up with those same things that I saw and that I was taught, you know? And in addition to that, the cultural feeling of, you know, hugging someone without even physically hugging someone, being courteous to someone, even if they're not even courteous to you. But also my experience has taught me a lot of street smarts and being wise in what I do. And also fearless. If you have to do something, you got to do something. So just a lot of those things. And I would say my culture and community has influenced me in big ways, where I honestly feel that, okay, in any space or any dynamic, because even at school at Howard University, because I go to school online, but we have weekly class sessions in Zoom. And the classmates are diverse. Individuals may be of African ancestry, African American by ways of the Caribbean ancestry. There's individuals who are of the non-ethnic, non-melanated cultural groups that are in there. And overall, we have deep conversations about real life things that are happening, conversations about what is happening politically, how that impacts the field of social work, and how we can navigate through those. Because as a practitioner in training, there's always that thought at the back of my head, oh snap, things are going off. Am I going to be able to work after school? Like, how is that going to be? What's going to happen to me? So I feel comforted that in addition to my school, and in addition to me really focusing on, okay, there's an issue here, that there is a solution that we can find, but also as an individual, how can I evolve in this process? I would honestly say that that has really taught me how to really not think about myself in the moment, but also reflect. Because I was raised on WIC, food stamps, by a hardworking single mom, though we had relatives and family. That's another conversation for another day. We persevered. There was almost a time where we almost went into a homeless shelter. There were resources that my mom tapped into, Salvation Army, when we left Florida due to hurricane, I think it was Irma or Harvey, Irma. And we came back to Georgia, and Salvation Army assisted in furniture, and we, you know, found an apartment that was, you know, conducive to our family size, and just a lot of things where there's a lot of things where the community can influence you in a way of feeling that, oh snap, like this is what's happening. But also there are some elements of hope that you get from each experience and each, you know, opportunity. So I would say that there's a lot of ways that I would, you know, say that my diasporic experience shaped my identity, but I would honestly say that it gave me an extra set of eyes, and not just looking at my own experience and not just internalizing everything that it's me, but also looking at everything from outwardly, because everyone has their own experience. Everyone has their own hurdles that they're trying to jump over, and it's not easy. And I'm, you know, looking back, I'm like, man, we have survived. But also like, man, all we had was each other. But that's why it's also important that even as a community, if you have funds, if you have means, and you're in a collective as a group, being open and honest, sharing what you know, but also being humble in the process, and how a message is delivered, how a message is received, and how everything can be delivered in a way that it's received and not rejected. That's something that I'm always having to keep myself in check of, because sometimes I may say things that may be like, oh, and ooh, did she just say that? I said it. But then I'm like, oh snap, I actually said it like that. Let me just go back. And sometimes even when you have siblings, there's moments when you're like, you're not gonna talk to me like that. Let's refocus this. So there's moments when, you know, that can happen. So I would honestly say, to answer question number 4, there are many ways that my diasporic experience has shaped my identity, but it's also helped me to really do introspective work and really do work for me, so that way I can be able to really experience the full experience and not just say that, oh, I'm Afro-Caribbean and that's my identity. No, there's other ways. And in addition to me saying that I'm Afro-Caribbean, on my Caribbean side, my mother is half Caribbean Indian, half Trinidadian. And on my, I don't really talk about my biological father much, but on my father's side, we'll get into that, y'all. He's Dominican and Antiguan. So there's a lot of islands in here. There's a lot of, layers to the big A. But most importantly speaking, I would say I only know a lot about my mom's side of the family, but she told me a lot about my father's side of the family. And in Dominica, the town that they lived in, or their families originated from, is Marigot. So I know those things. So that way, my mom always said, one day you have to visit. So that way I can be able to learn more. So I would say that's what really gave me a lot of confidence, is that I didn't feel as if I was just knowing one side and not both. My mom always told me about forgiveness. She always taught me about not allowing her experience and the unfortunates that happened in that experience to cloud my own judgment for myself. And I, thank goodness I didn't, because that's how I feel free, and not like I'm making a decision because of one person's experience and not my own experience and what I saw. Because when you see what you see, you can't unsee that. And last question. What stories or lessons from your lineage do you want to pass on or explore more deeply? The stories that I want to pass on from my lineage, I would say, is the stories that my mom passed down to me. I would say my own childhood stories. I probably may omit some of them. To my future lineage that's watching this video in the future, I'm probably not going to tell you everything. Maybe not everything, because some stories you should not expose to everybody else, because some things need to remain family. But we'll see, God willing. But I would say the stories that I would pass on is the ancestral stories of my family, and so that way they can learn from the lesson, because there's a lot of things that happened in my family, especially on my mom's side, that lessons that she learned, and she's like, wait a minute, no, I got to stop this trend. I can't create a pattern for my daughters to see, because I have an older sister. So my mom was very intentional of not putting and passing down traits, examples, because the women in our family are beautiful. We have the body. So I also have been, advised on how dressing modestly, but also respecting myself is important, but also just being responsible. Because when you know that you got it, you know that you got it. But the most important thing is learning the lesson, because you also want to make sure that children are created in a way that is respectful, but also in a way that you have the means and the ability to ensure that you're okay in the process. As well as my lineage, despite everything, I come from strong women. They were beaten down, they got up 10. They were beaten down 10, they got up 20. And prayers to a lot of the strong women in my family, whom are near and far. And honestly speaking, that's what I want to pass on to my to the next generation of me. And what I would love to explore more deeply is the ancestral sides, because we're still trying to find the woman, the woman that created all of the all of the Ansa women, but also the women that created all of the James women. That's the surname of on my mom's side, the woman who created everything. We're still in search for her, and I do hope and pray that by using this channel, by using these resources that we'll be exploring, we're going to be able to find her. And working with my mom, we'll be able to partner and find her together. And also I want to explore possibly going into other Caribbean islands. Oh God, I'm gonna open a rabbit hole for myself of definitely hitting up Dominica and Antigua. Definitely, I may go back home to St. Croix with my family or with my mom. I may visit Ghana for the first time. Listen, we've been giving a lot of, my mom was asked multiple times. But here's the thing, when you're traveling, you need someone that you can trust, but you also need to make sure that you have that overall preparation. You feel me? Because this world is different now, and you also want to make sure that the proper steps are taken, but you can't live in fear. If you have to go someplace, you have to go. Pray for me. But what I do know is that exploring my African lineage and diasporic roots has definitely been something that has been rewarding. And I really hope that and pray that as we go into more topics, more discussions, we're really going to break this thing down and really explore how our roots, our lineage, stories that we probably were never told, we probably don't want to tell them, even if we're told, and also experiences that we have yet to experience. So these are experiences that I'm so looking forward to really, exploring. But yeah, that has been our time with exploring the African lineage and diasporic roots and what that really means to me, but also what that means to you. And I will present the questions in the description box so that way you're able to really respond to those questions in the comments, because this is a global conversation. This is not just me, Aisha, you, this is where we're at. Nope, this is a bigger conversation. So before we get into it, please make sure that you are subscribed, you hit the notification bell so that way you don't miss any of our episodes. Please like and share to whomever you think that this video would be beneficial for, and let's just do this. We have more conversations that we're going to be going over. The first series that we're going to be really describing and really honing in on is ancestry and identity. Everything else will be everything else. But until then, stay safe, stay blessed, stay together. Let's get rooted and let's grow together in the process. Thank you all. I love you all. Oh my goodness, I love that we're doing this. Your girl is back. I'm so excited. But let's do this, and I'll see you guys on another episode. Thank you always, and have a beautiful Tuesday. Bye.